I like the new tunes.
Yeah, you like that, huh?
Spicing it up a bit, are you?
Yes. I like to change it up every once in a while.
Yeah.
So don't mind me. I'm right now. Last week the comments section were out, so I figured out the problem. So this is what I'm gonna do.
So you're gonna make sure it works now.
I'm making sure it works now. Yeah.
Well, it's been an interesting week too. God, BOH meeting, obviously election stuff going on, and we have a special guest that I think that probably, rather than leave him out there too long, and we'll get to that, Jim Letterie, the council president. I don't know, anything on your plate that you're thinking?
Hold on. I just want to make sure this works. So give me
the comments.
Right, here we go.
Taking the comments.
Yeah, I'm working on it. All right, there you go. So we just got. Was that from last week or is that this week?
It might be last week.
That's
last week.
That has to do with my podcast.
Yeah, that's not.
He might do it. You never know. The Facebook user, I know who it is. Might be.
Yeah, me too.
Every week. Let's see. What's been going on that I noticed? I think we talked about it last week. I had mentioned the water bill thing, the erratic behavior, not so much. Oh, there you go. See, we're getting comments now. That works.
I don't know. That looks the same time frame. It could be.
Same person. Could be.
Yeah.
No,
Yep.
This is, let's say 2002, 802. Yeah, no, this is right on.
There's
Good luck tonight. We didn't have that last week.
Nope. All right. Sorry.
Yay,
we have friends again.
Hey, live streaming, Gonna do it. No, but everything's good. I don't see, I haven't heard of any uproars other than the now infamous Bill the Shill Schmidt from the Board of Health still refuses to do his meeting Zoom. And okay, he's not legally bound to do it, right? But it just shows the character of that little man and what he thinks about letting the most vulnerable population in Winthrop, the people with disabilities, have access to the Board of Health meetings. He's doing this out of spite. Yeah. We know that because he is a petty little man. He's doing it out of spite because he lost his battle with the chickens, which was so important to him. So important. It was more important. Chickens to him and that board were more important than the people with disabilities in Winthrop.
Hold on. Yeah. Do you realize this chicken thing has gotten, he's got a hat now? Like this chicken thing has gotten so many miles. So many miles.
Well, as it should, because it was the stupidest, pettiest. I don't know. I mean, look, we've had some issues on this show that we've talked about that we could say we could have left it alone. And, but no, we picked up the gauntlet with the chickens because it was just so blatantly obvious that he was doing it out of spite, and I'll show you, and I'm Bill the Shill Schmidt, I don't lose, etc., etc.
Well, in the end, he
won't show the video. He won't stream.
He won't live stream. I went to the meeting tonight. Carol went to the meeting too. I think she's watching. Carol went to the meeting too. We're asking for her, basically for her husband to have access. And Bill's correct. There's no legal reason to do, or he doesn't have to do it. But at the end of the day, as a community, you would think he'd want to. And the excuses were, we don't know how, it's technology and we're volunteers and we don't know how to do it. I was quite
What did they do during COVID?
They did it.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, that appalled me. And I had to leave because I was like really upset by that. Like, this is not right. This is not right. But anyway, I digress. I wanted to update people on that. It's clearly not going away. And until we have a change in the BOH chair seat, we're going to have to live with what we live with.
The battles this guy chooses is I can't fathom the pettiness of it.
No.
It really is. It shows exactly what this guy is and who he is. You know, it's just really, he's a pathetic man that he knows he can do it. But the people with disabilities, he doesn't care about them. He looks down on them. He treats them like he was treating the women on the board. That's my opinion. He
said someone needs to guarantee us that it's going to work or give us a resource. What? Like, and if
he's lazy too, then he's lazy.
If we're volunteers is going to be the fallback, then please don't volunteer because you're not really doing what you're supposed to do for us.
He's not representing the people.
I get it. It's free. It's free.
So what is this, Todd? Someone says, Todd, you can talk about the email.
So Carol, that's Carol. We can't see the name Carol, but Carol's, I'm going to paraphrase in the interest of saving time. I know we got a guest in the waiting, and I do want to hit just a little bit on the election before Jim comes on. But real quick, basically Carol's been trying to use the diplomatic approach to get the man to turn on Zoom. So her husband, who is disabled and is sick. I'm not going to share his, he's a sick person.
Yeah.
She has been trying to get Zoom. He has refused. She sent him an email. He sent the response. And in the response, he said, this has been sent to legal. She asked the question, why tonight? And you can bang in there on the comments. Carol, I don't remember why you asked why he sent it to legal. Did he ever answer it? I don't remember him answering. I remember him pontificating onto his opinion. And I whether or not he answered her question directly remains to be seen, but for sure he pontificated on his opinion as to, I want to be guaranteed. It causes too many problems. And there she is saying he didn't answer the question. So there you have it.
What's funny? What's funny about this whole thing? And it's showing that he's a liar, that he's lazy, and he's afraid. He's a cowardly little man. And I will always preface him with little man. Man being questionable. Because a man does what he needs to do, right? This guy doesn't. But it was really funny how that Zoom thing worked when he was talking, when the whole chicken thing erupted. That's how we got the video of him being disruptive during public comment, right? That was all Zoomed, right?
Yep. 4K.
And it worked. He was caught in 4K, as I say. And now all of a sudden he wants guarantees that it worked, that it's going to work.
Tuesday night, it's been working the last 4 or 5 Tuesday nights flawlessly. This is crazy.
So what does that tell you about this guy? People,
I'm bored.
This guy has been exposed for the petty little man that he is, that he doesn't care about the people with disabilities in Winthrop. Bill the Shill Schmidt, head of the Board of Health, does not care. And I'm going to take this video clip and I'm going to post this on Facebook. So give me 5 seconds to. Bill the Shill Schmidt, the head of the Board of Health of Winthrop, Massachusetts, does not care about disabled people in Winthrop. He has the ability to Zoom his meetings so the disabled people in Winthrop can see what's going on with the Board of Health. But he chooses not to. And he uses the excuse, I have to be guaranteed that this equipment is going to work and I need somebody here to do it for me, etc. This guy is a disgrace, and he's serving as the head of the Board of Health for Winthrop, Massachusetts. This has been a public service announcement. Now I'm done.
Okay, you feel better?
Well, I'm going to use that clip. I'm going to post it. I'm going to post it everywhere.
So tonight's a good night to have Jim on because election season's starting to get into full swing. As you know, I've been out at the bridge every morning waving to voters and earning their votes. Signs have started to come up. And of course, other concerns, if you will, have started to percolate. I know you and I have talked offline, and myself and a few other people have talked offline that when's the shoe going to drop, right? When's something going to come out that is some type of negative attack on me? I know it's coming. I just don't know when or where it's coming from. But
Right.
and so I want people to pay attention. I want people to come, like we said, all politics starts at the local level. Come here. We're going to try to be as fair and as transparent as possible. And tonight we're about to do something I think could be a first, and we might need to get some legal opinion. Is it okay to have the council president on and a councilor at large candidate on at the same time? It's not a quorum.
Well, you're not elected yet, so you're still the host of the Winthrop Votes live stream. So,
I think we're gonna have to. So let's welcome the hardest working official, according to one of our viewers, that they've ever met, Jim Letterie.
How you doing, guys? Nice to be here.
What's up, Jimmy boy?
Wait, where'd you go, Jim? There's half of you now.
Yeah, I noticed something. Like, holy smokes!
He's got one of those melting lenses. Don't lie.
He's melting.
He's got
Jim, has this stuff really gotten to you that bad where you're starting to like drop 50 pounds like in a week?
No. Working hard for the people of Winthrop. But,
oh, there you go. Right off the bat, Jim. There you go.
Nice to be back.
Yeah, it's good to have you back, man. So, what? Anything new in Winthrop lately? Anything? I don't know. Is there anything that's standing out?
Yeah, we made some promises at the beginning, a couple of years ago, and we're doing our best to fulfill those promises. I think it's been a lot of hard work by a lot of people to bring a couple of very good proposals to the town. They're obviously hot button topics right now, and looking forward to talking about them and just informing the people about them.
So, Jim, when you launched or kicked this all off, everybody remembers, everybody watching remembers. There was a lot of hoopla, noise, pushback. Where does that all stand now? How are you feeling about the reaction of the public at this point? And, what do you see going forward?
Well, I'm really encouraged that it seems like the public is really interested in learning more about the project. And, I've said from the beginning, for us to pass this project, obviously we need the taxpayers of Winthrop to vote yes. But there are four things I think that we really need to focus on and that we've been trying to focus on. And one is to prove that there is a need for a firehouse. And I think that's pretty much universal. I don't know. I'm not going to say 100%, but I think that's very high percentage of people understand the need of the firehouse. So, the one on Pauline Street was built in 1880s, and the one at the Shirley Street station was built in 1905. And just the fact that they're old doesn't make them bad, but they don't meet any of the standards of current modern day fire stations. The environment that our firefighters living in and day out, and this is a 24-hour facility, obviously, are deplorable. And I think people understand that. So I think we've proven the need, and we're still obviously open. We're having continuous.
Jim, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I want to go back because you made a good point, and I wanted to just have you expand on it a little bit from your perspective. You talk about the conditions. I actually think, I think what the people should know, and maybe you want to expand on this, is that our fire department over the years, over the decades, has made up for a shortfall in their line item budget for maintenance by doing a lot of the work themselves to our buildings on their own time and with their own money for material supplies, with their own tools, the whole thing. So I think that first, number one, bears mentioning. And number two, I think you're right that the facility is not, the part of this is the facility just does not meet current standards. So we do have to bring it up to current standards and codes. But anyway, I wanted to throw that out there, and feel free to comment on or carry on.
No, I agree. I mean, we've been very fortunate over the years to have tradesmen that are working as firemen, and they've donated their time, they've raised money, they've put in windows, they've fixed boilers, they've done so much stuff. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And they're very proud of their facilities, right? And they want to be safe, obviously, and we want them to be safe. So to prove that there's a need, that's the number one thing, and that's hard to argue with. The second thing that we feel is extremely important from day one are the businesses that are in the current Wadsworth building. There are roughly 10 businesses that are in there. Obviously, the meat market takes center stage, and it absolutely should. Patsy and Sandro have been there for 37 plus years. They've been an institution in town, and they've provided incredible service, donated their time for countless events, and so they've been all you want in a business and more, and as well as the other business have been. So, we want to prove to the people that we're going to stick by our word, that we are going to take care of these businesses. If they want to be in Winthrop, we are finding them locations. We are relocating them. We have a legal responsibility to pay for relocation costs, and we have a moral responsibility to just take care of the businesses that have done so much for our community. I think in a very short period of time, hopefully about 2 weeks, you'll hear a proposal for the meat market and for Patsy and Sandro. And I think they're going to be very happy. I think they are very happy, and I think it's going to work out. And, we're going above and beyond also to work with the other businesses also. Did you have a question, Todd, as I go on?
Yeah, Jim. Yeah, woo. So that was a good self-observation. Thank you. On the Patsy thing and on the negotiations, one of the things I think you should address more broadly, because I was approached down at the event, the end of summer bash, about the quote unquote backroom deals. And I think you and I both, because we're on the inside a little bit more, understand what has to be kept secret and what doesn't. But I also think there are some legitimate concerns here and there. So I think I'd like to have you address that, so that the folks that ask me about those things can get some answers to that question.
Well, I don't really know what you mean about backroom deals. There are absolutely no backroom deals. This has been the most transparent. We had a public hearing last night, and we had a comment from one member of the audience, and they didn't say they were supporting it or not supporting it, but they were very thankful for the Firehouse Committee and how open we've been. We've had meetings every single week. We've had public hearings. We have a new website that is phenomenal, I think, to be able to be put together in such a short period of time. And special thanks, honestly, goes out to one of our members of the Firehouse Committee, Josh Castellano, who has been an incredible resource for us with a lot of this technology that, some of us aren't that fantastic with. But we have a website, and it is WinthropFireStation.com. In that website, we have all different pages featuring stories on other firehouses that we visited recently and what ours might look like. We have obviously about 25 frequently asked questions that we've had, the most common questions we've received, and we've answered them on there. We have an interactive finance page that gives people the opportunity, and we'll go into that on one of my next items, is the cost, but it gives people the opportunity to look at the impact to their taxes, because, obviously we're asking people to pay for a $35 to $40 million facility, and it's going to have an impact on taxes. And we want to be as transparent as possible on that. So we have an interactive page on there that you can not only see the effect or the impact on your taxes, but as a couple of the recent debt exclusions, and I guess not that recent anymore, but the Arthur Cummings Schools comes off the tax rolls next year, and then the Miller Field project will be coming off a few years after that. And we also show a net impact after those two come off the tax rolls. It's important to look at the cost. That's obviously a huge factor to a lot of people out there. But another page we have on there are videos. We have links to all the Firehouse Building Committee meetings. We also have taken excerpts from different people. They might be 5 to 6 minute long, where they're discussing a certain item. So instead of watching the whole meeting, you could focus in on one clip. So, and we also have a section there for somebody to ask questions, whoever they want, whoever would like to ask a question, we will get back to them. We also have a tab on the front page about hosting a coffee hour. If so, a lot of people are apprehensive about going to a meeting in a public location, or they don't want to ask a question, they're not sure the answer. So a lot of people would be more than willing to host us for a coffee. We would have a couple of the committee members go and ask people in a private setting, in their home setting, where they feel comfortable, if they have questions that they're not sure about. We're not a campaign, so to speak. We're not telling people vote yes, vote yes, vote yes. Our goal is to vote informed, vote informed, vote informed. Be educate yourself. Let us help educate you and make a decision based on that. So, and that went into the third of the four things that I wanted to talk about, the things that I think we have to prove to people and explain to people, and that's the cost, right? This is a $35 to $40 million facility. It is phase one of a potential two-phase process. The second phase would be a little bit down the road, and it will include the police station. And we will be sharing our vision for that phase two at our next public hearing, which is on September 25th. So, the cost of the project, we were trying to be as cognizant as we can of the needs of people and the limitations that taxpayers have in this town. Being a small town, it has so many pluses, but has a minus, for example, of having no commercial business to speak of. Nobody that we can really put a lot of the burden on of paying taxes. So the burden is on the individuals and on the homeowners. So we're very cognizant of that. So we're trying to break it up into two phases. So the cost is obviously a huge issue for a lot of people, and that's why we have that interactive piece on the website. And the last issue that we have to prove to people that we've taken this seriously, we've done our due diligence, we've looked at multiple locations, is the middle school, right? Because that seems to be the site. It seemed to have been the other site that people want to say, take a look at the middle school. And the easiest thing is we own it, right? So there's less cost in the acquisition cost, a little more cost in the demolition, but not much to speak of. But the big caveat there is we own it. It's been sitting there. Why don't you use it? And we've tried to explain that, and I'll continue to explain it. And one of the main reasons is it's a 90,000 square foot piece of land where to build a public safety building, if you look at the current Kirby Funeral Home, the Wadsworth building, and the police station, that's about 52,000 square feet. So that's what we're planning to build a public safety facility on. So to have 90,000 square feet is, it's a lot of room. You're not going to just build a fire station down there. You'd be building a public safety building, which now you're talking $75 to $80 million. You're talking more time. And you're talking a big thing too, is the fire station, the police station. And we're very fortunate in a lot of ways. All our buildings, all our older buildings need some work, but one thing that's really good about the police station is they have the opportunity to have a range underground. And we would obviously like to replicate that if we were to go anywhere else. To try to dig a foundation and go underground at the middle school is incredibly costly. There's water. The water table is very, very shallow there. So, and the main thing with the middle school since day one, and this has been pretty much consistent throughout the many councils that have been there in the last 7 years, is the influx of income, the net income to the town. The middle school side has always been thought of as a revenue generating facility, right? We were going to have some sort of revenue stream for the town, and we were also supposed to have some sort of economic stimulus for the businesses, the small businesses that have been supporting this town for years and years. So to build a public safety building there, one is the cost, which would be extremely high to build the facility in its totality. The second would be the lack of revenues that it would produce for the town. And that's been consistent. That's not something that we just dreamed up this year as we're proposing the current plan on Winthrop Street. That's something that we've been very consistent with. We've been told since 2008 by the state, we don't have a spending problem. We have a revenue problem. And
Whoop. I'm so glad you said that. I want to jump in on that one, because you and I fight about this all the time. And I just want to give people perspective. Okay. You made a very important point, and this matters because you know what? Let me take advantage of this for my campaign because we disagree vehemently on this. We have, in my opinion, a spending problem because the voters of Winthrop, with the exception of water rates and trash fees, have told you how much money they're willing to give you. We consistently have to, I'll just say, do the pretzel twist at every budget season to make sure we have a balanced budget. And we always have a balanced budget. I don't want to get lost in the details. But from my perspective, the fact of the matter is we commit to spending more in the future years than we know we're going to get based upon the history, and it's never been wrong. We've always gotten the same amount. I don't want to get lost in this. We, regardless of whether or not we agree or disagree about spending versus a revenue problem, no matter, the other part of it is no matter how much revenue we get, we built Sail Harbor that was supposed to answer all our problems. We built Sail Harbor 2 that was supposed to answer all our problems. We built that behemoth building across the street on Pleasant Street near the marina that was supposed to solve all our financial problems. They don't. If we don't change the way we do business and stick to what the people tell us to do with our budget and how much money they give us, nothing changes. Thank you. Carry on. I'm sorry.
Thank you for that public service announcement. And I will say
I was waiting for that.
there is no one plan that's going to solve issues that town has, right? We develop, and I believe in incremental development. We're going to develop slowly. I don't think we could support 100 units or 150 units down the middle school or anywhere else in town. But those 15 or 20 unit complexes, that's probably how we're going to grow. We could agree to disagree on the spending problem or revenue problem, but the fact is, I think we can agree that we have a revenue problem, and we don't want to just keep burdensome on the taxpayers. So, I'm trying to think outside the box, and a lot of people look at revenues and they say, well, for example, there's a new project down in the center, the Somerset, right? Very nice building. It came out well. It's 100% occupied. They've been good neighbors that I've heard since they've been open, which is all great. But the revenues that brings into town is very modest, right? It's roughly $30,000 in revenue, which is better than zero that it was bringing in before.
There's another one going up where the bank in the Sons of Italy was.
Well, there's potentially a project going there. We don't know.
It's coming. It's coming.
There will be, and I'm sure there will be development. But I like to look at the net revenue dollars, right? And if you're looking at certain facilities, and I think the Somerset did it right, they have a clientele that's pretty much a consistent age group that doesn't burden a lot of other departments, right? And if you're building, two bedroom or 3 bedroom apartment units, those you're going to have families coming in, which is great. That's how you grow a town. But we have to be careful about how it affects other departments like the school department. So if you're bringing in, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 on a unit in taxes, and you have, one child, that's $18,000 in expenses. So we're trying to be cognizant of that. We realize we want to continue to grow. We have to, or we'll be dead on the vine if we don't continue to grow, but we have to do it in a prudent way. So getting back to the fire station before our public service announcement, we talked about the middle school, and really we feel that it's an incredibly important opportunity for the town to create a revenue stream from that and to create some sort of economic stimulus. So, the project we have is the project that we're voting on in November. I did see, I don't have my contacts on. I'm trying to look at some of these questions, and I saw somebody, I think, said something about, what if it doesn't pass? What if we don't get the approval? Well,
here it is up. I'll put it up on the screen.
Yeah, if it doesn't get approved, why need use business like it? If this doesn't get approved, why need use businesses like?
So what are planning on heading if this doesn't get approved? Okay. Why need use businesses like Kirby Funeral Home, been there since 70 or 80?
Right. So I think, the bottom line is we're hoping that the citizens see the need for this. And, to me, this is going to come down, and I'll answer the question in a minute, but to me, I think we've proven the need. And I think people are going to understand that the businesses are going to be taken care of. And I think people are going to be very happy about that. The middle school, and we'll go into that project in a bit, but we've had, been working on something for almost a year now with the middle school. And, that plan was announced last week. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but I think it's incredibly exciting for the town. It's a great opportunity. It provides that revenue stream we were talking about. It doesn't burden departments, as we were talking about, and it gives economic stimulus for businesses. It kind of checks the boxes. And I say that a lot in the fire station project and in the middle school project. You look at something and you have, 50 boxes that you're trying to check off. Does it do this? Does it do that? You're never going to find that 100%. But I think both these projects come very close. But to go back to the question, what do we do if it doesn't pass? Where I'm seriously hoping it does pass. And I think if people are well informed and educated on this, I think they'll see the need. And if they can afford it, and that's a big question, but if they can afford it, I think it should pass. If it doesn't pass, we'll look again. We'll look again in the spring or the fall, potentially next year, and look at maybe the same project, maybe transformed in a different way. But we're really not getting ahead of ourselves there. We're focusing all our energy on just trying to educate as many people as we can. I think it's getting repetitive for a lot of people because we're regurgitating the same information. It's easy to do when you're speaking the truth all the time and just giving facts out. So it's easier to do. But I think some people, and you could see attendance is waning a little bit at some of the meetings because, how many times can you tell people about the cost? It's going to cost between $35 and $40 million. It's going to affect the average house in Winthrop, which is assessed at, I think, $625,000. The average house in Winthrop will see an impact to their taxes of roughly $426 and change a year. A year. So it's roughly $115 a quarter, and you could break that down.
Jim, on that note, let's back up a little bit, right? Because you talked about phase two, and maybe this is a selling point just for me. I don't know. But one of the big things I heard was people want to have input. I have input. Well, here's my input. I'd love it if you got a gun range in the police department. If you had public use hours and you charge some bucks, I mean, I'd be willing to pay myself personally 20, 25, 30 bucks for an hour or so on if they had public hours. And that would be a good way for it to generate a little bit of money anyway. I don't know. Just something, I'm riffing here, but I wanted to get on that because I would love to have a gun range close by.
Okay. So again, getting back to if you have more questions on the firehouse, I'd love to talk about it and love to get more opinions. But those are the things we're focusing on, a need, taking care of the businesses, explaining the cost and explaining why not the middle school. And the middle school wasn't the only site that we've looked at. Now we've done studies. We found a study from 1991. We found a study from 1997. And in 1997, they actually proposed the site. It didn't get as far as voting on it, but they proposed the site. They proposed the facility. It was going to be $3.5 million to build a fire station. And in the end, they were told, you know what? Next time. Now's not the time. The next time we're going to talk about building something, it's going to be the fire station. And then in 2000, it ended up being Fort Banks School, which ended up being a great project. It's, I think it was thought of originally to be a couple of neighborhood schools, and it ended up being a little bit different, but it's worked out quite well. And we got a fantastic deal on it. We spent under $10 million to build it, of which we had 50% reimbursement from that. But then it was thought that the next time it would be the fire station's chance. And then in 2002, we built the ATC school. And again, a much needed building, as we could say about a lot of buildings in town. We used the architecture from the old Willis School. We incorporated some of the architecture from the E.B. Newton. We helped that make it fit into the town. And it's a beautiful building, and that will be paid for next year. And that was $13 million 2 years later. And again, we had 50% reimbursement on that. And then it was like, okay, the fire station's next. And then we hit a huge recession in 2008, 2009, and nobody was building anything pretty much. Then we came out of that, and it was like, okay, fire station. And then it was high school time. And then that started off as a high school project. Again, we had the MSBA supporting us and telling us that they would give us another 50% reimbursement. And as we started that project, we said, well, maybe we could take a look at the middle school too and incorporate that and do a middle senior high school. So we went back to the MSBA. They gave us approval once again. And we built a beautiful middle high school. And that project started in 2013-14, was finished in 16-17. And that project cost $80 million, fits about 1,000 kids in that school. That was $80 million. We got a 50% reimbursement on that. So now we're in 1997 and we're thinking the firehouse is any minute now. And now we're 26 years later and we're finally putting a proposal on the table. We had talked to I think Chief Wiley had talked to a retired lieutenant from the captain from the fire department who 60 years ago, one of his first jobs as a fireman was to run in town to get the plans for the new firehouse that they were going to build on Revere Street. That was 60 years ago, and that never happened. So we've never gotten this far, and I'm happy. I'm not proud of the fact that we've gotten this far. It doesn't mean much of anything until we cross the finish line, and that we have a facility that we can be proud of and that we could feel confident in, that our firefighters who have given so much to us, that we could give back to them and give them a facility they deserve. It's quite poignant too that we're talking about this on 9/12. Yesterday was 9/11, and I went to a ceremony at the fire station, and it's, you sit there and you get goose pimples, and then you look around and you realize that these people are putting their lives on the line, as our police department does also. When you're looking at these people and you're saying, we can't even give them more than one shower to take a shower. There were codes, there are standards in the state that firefighters are supposed to come back from any kind of call, and they're all supposed to shower within 1 hour. And you could have a dozen people going back to the station that has one shower in it, and you're expecting them to shower and change and get back into gears within an hour. And it's terrible. It's terrible. I mean, we could go over and over and over the lack of facilities and the standards that they don't meet. But, I think we're going to prove up.
We could do that. Sorry, Jim. We could do that across the town, actually. But let me do. I want to do this because one of the I want to see this thing pass. Frankly, I mean, I do. I'm voting as a citizen. I'm voting in favor of it. But I want the people to get their questions answered as well. And one of the big questions that I've been getting, and someone has typed it in here, is how the conversation happened. I know there's some things you can't say. I've tried to answer that question by saying there's some stuff that needs to be private. But if we really want to get to some of the people that are in my ear and what that follow Winthrop votes, that's probably a question that you should do the best you can to answer.
And what was that question? How did this come about?
Did the town approach Kirby's and the owner of Wadsworth? I think that was a surprise to people. How did that conversation happen?
And again, I can't get into executive session stuff, but I think it's been said many times that both the Kirby Funeral Home and the owner of the Wadsworth building were willing sellers. We were looking at another proposal at the current fire station on Pauline Street, and that would have involved 7 to 9 public takings, eminent domain takings. Now, we use the word friendly taking, hostile taking, those legal terms, I don't know, but it's pretty easy to understand. What a friendly taking is when people are very willing to sell, and a hostile taking is something that could take a couple of years to go through. Eventually, the municipality has the opportunity and the right to take a location, but it has to go through a process. That would have involved 4 single-family homes. It would have involved displacing families, and it would not have been friendly. And we didn't think that was the right thing to do, to even consider that. This was very friendly. Both owners were willing to sell. Who approached who first? I think it was known by the town that they were willing sellers. We looked at the location and looked at the future and looked at the proximity to the police station, which we know has to be addressed in the future. In a lot of situations, they're in similar situations as the firehouse are, and they give They put their lives on the line as well every day in and day out. And you just want to give them the best facilities we can. We're not trying to give everybody the Taj Mahal of everything. We're not that town. That's not what we are. But we want to give them facilities that they're going to be able to do their jobs in, that they're going to feel safe in and comfortable in. So looking at that location and its proximity to the police station, we thought it was a home run. We really did. And this is something, we've had different conversations over the past couple of years, and it's not a big secret that the council has different thoughts. Different members on the council have different thoughts on different subjects. So in a lot of situations, it's not uncommon for us to be split in some way. So to have a project of this size that we're in unanimous agreement on, I think that says a lot. It says a lot on the fact that the council understands the project, maybe at the beginning, obviously a little bit more than the public did. The public's starting to understand all the nuances of it and all the effects of it. But to see a council, as we have now, to agree 100% on such a big issue, I thank all the councilors for that support and their understanding and their knowledge. We all have different thoughts on different subjects that come up, but when it comes to public safety and comes to that need of this fire station, it was unanimous. And that's not a big secret to say. So I think that's incredibly important for people to understand. When it gets down to speaking about this, and we could talk about all those issues, those 4 issues I've talked about, to me, the one issue that I could never complain to somebody if they can't vote for this and have to vote no is the cost. There are people on fixed incomes. I saw something here about just getting out of COVID. People have lost their jobs. And that's obviously something that everybody has to take their own private situation into account. People can say, oh, it's only this or only that. Well, it's a lot of money. Prices of everything have gone up incredibly in the last 3 years. And I think we're very cognizant of that. And what we did, as I said earlier about that, is to try to split this project up into 2 phases and go back to the fire station, who's been waiting so very long for this and so deserving of this, and to try to take care of that first. We looked at a couple of stations relatively locally that have just opened up, one in Woburn and one in Lexington. And the one in Lexington was opened in 2020. And if you go to the website again, winthropfirestation.com, you'll see pictures of it. It is a beautiful station. It is less than a block from the Lexington Green. So it is a very historic district. I'm sure, I know they have very high aspirations in Lexington about anything they do. And this building looks like it's been there for 75 years. And that's what we're looking at, that historical building, those historical features. And that building is 26,000 square feet. I think it cost $22 million. And that was, say the project opened in 2020, it started in 2017. So in 2017, they got a price of $22 million. This building is the gold standard for fire stations in the Northeast. It's a totally green building, which is fantastic. They create their own energy, their own electricity, their own hot water. They have a supplement for electricity in months where they might not produce enough, but they are pretty much 100% green building. It is incredible facility. I encourage people to take a look at it. It's roughly 7,000 or 8,000 square feet less than what we're proposing because they have other stations within their town. But to look at that and then to look at Woburn, which is a little bigger than that, still about 6,000 square feet less than what we're proposing. And they built it 2 years later and it cost them $21 million. If you figure out the square footage and to look at what we're building for that, $35 million to $40 million range, it's about an 8% increase a year. So, we're not helping anything by pushing something down the road. It's only going to cost us more. There are certain things that you can fix. You could go around. There is no, it's trying to put a square peg in a round hole to try to fix and keep putting money into fire stations that have long outlived their useful life.
I just want to, again, be opportunistic here, and Jim, and say, I hope that when I am elected, you have that same mentality about not kicking things down the road, because this is yet again something you and I have disagreed upon in the past. But I also do want to just advocate for you here a little bit. I think you have done a great job with this project. I think that I hope that the answers people are getting with regards to some of these questions you've asked um, um, are helpful to them, because everybody should vote based upon what they know about the fire station. So I want to give you, you're working your butt off to make this thing happen, and I appreciate that.
I would like to take, I know we're running long, and this is good.
No, take your time,
talk
Jim.
a little bit about the middle school. We did present a project at the middle school, and I know there's questions up here, and I want to take the time to get to all of them. People can contact me if they have any questions. I'd be happy to talk to them one-on-one, over the phone, Zoom, coffee.
Awesome.
I don't care. But I do want to talk a little bit about the middle school project. So what I'm proposing for the middle school is we do a first, which would be on the town. We want to level the site, right? We want to demolish the middle school, the auditorium, and the gymnasium. We've been looking for, we have cost estimates of it. The cost of the demolition itself is probably $800,000 to $900,000. And then there's a cost of probably $500,000 to $600,000 for remediation for asbestos that is pretty much guaranteed to be in the building. So we're looking at about $1.5 million. We're talking to our state reps. We're talking to our former state reps. And we're looking, to help us in that cause. Then we would like to put an RFP out, and there will be an RFP on the agenda at our next council meeting to discuss. And what we would do would be to look for a company that would want to enter into a public-private partnership with the town of Winthrop. This public-private partnership would give a company an opportunity to come in here, and we would be looking for them to build us a multifunctional sports facility. This multifunctional sports facility would include an additional sheet of ice, and it would include a field house. The field house would be, again, multifunctional. It would have the ability to transform itself into 16 pickleball courts, 12 volleyball courts, 4 tennis courts, 4 basketball courts, have the opportunity to have an indoor track within it, have a opportunity to have a second floor on top of the lobby that would be housing our Parks and Rec department, which have been without a real home for many, many years. It's incredible what they're able to do with the facilities that they've been given. So what the town would get from this, obviously, is revenues, and the revenues would be in terms of rent. We would maintain ownership of the land. It's recreation land. We don't want to give up the ownership. We would maintain ownership of the land. They would pay us rent. The rent would be somewhere in the $125,000 to $150,000 a year. This would also provide an incredible economic stimulus for businesses, because how this company and why a company would want to come into Winthrop and build a huge facility at I'm sure a pretty big price tag, is they run tournaments. So they give us certain times that we take care of the high school programs, boys hockey, girls hockey. We take care of Winthrop youth hockey. We take care of figure skating. We give the town ample opportunity to have public skating, and other times it can use. We also give the guys and women that have been playing hockey for 40, 50 years down at the rink on Monday night, Tuesday night, whatever. We give them opportunities to have their ice time. We look at the police department, which runs a lot of recreational programs for underprivileged kids and helps them out in so many ways. And we give them the opportunity to have that time. We have time for the town and for the high school to use maybe an indoor track facility that they don't have. We have the opportunity for the citizens of the town to walk around the track or to use the facilities in either facility. And how the company would make money, how our partner would make money, is they basically lease out the space to run tournaments. They're not running the tournaments, but they'll have an AAU company that will come in and say, we want to host an AAU basketball tournament, or a hockey program that says we want to host a hockey tournament, or a hockey facility that wants to run camps for kids to run camps, or could be a cornhole tournament. It could be a pickleball tournament. There are so many facilities around that do this type of activity. It brings people to the town. Again, it's not a burden on our public school system. It's not a burden on our public safety people. It's a stimulus for the town. It provides a revenue stream. The other part of this project would be at the top of Wadsworth Street, where Wheelock and Wadsworth kind of meet, where the old middle school would be. We would finish that street off by selling 3 or 4 townhouse lots. So that would give that neighborhood a finished look, and it would provide a natural border between any facility. After the backyard of those new potentially townhouses, we would have green space there. So there'd be a natural buffer again, and it would give the Ingleside Park a direct access into the center area without going on a street or a sidewalk. There have been many facilities built. I know for a fact that there are companies chomping at the bit to take a look at Winthrop. The other thing that we're hoping would happen with this project is that our partner would be able to address some of the infrastructure problems that we have underneath the middle school. We've done $13 million worth of work in the center over the center business project over the 5 out of the last 7 years. And there are still issues that we need to address underneath the middle school, and this company would be able to address them for us. So I think it's a great opportunity. I think there are people that are definitely looking to do this work. If you take a look, if anybody out there wants to take a look at something that I'm thinking about, you could Google Boston Sports Institute. It's a facility in Wellesley. It was a piece of property that the Archdiocese owned, and the Archdiocese sold it to the town of Wellesley. Wellesley was looking to generate some sort of revenue, same kind of situation, but they didn't want to be spending taxpayer money to do it. So they put an RFP out, they got a company, and the company came in, and it's been an incredible success for Wellesley. It's been incredible success for the businesses around Wellesley and in Wellesley, and it's been incredible success for their partner. So I'm very encouraged to looking at that. It kind of fulfills all the boxes that we looked at for that facility. It doesn't, I am not the one that wants to or ever would want to build 100 units down there or 150 units. I just think that's not what Winthrop is about down there, and that doesn't fulfill any of the goals we had for that project. So, I'm really excited about that project too. It's kind of amazing that these two things that we've been talking about for years and years are kind of coming hopefully to fruition around the same time. But again, you want the citizens to be able to take a look at this, and you want them to be happy about it. It's not to make me happy. It's not to make Todd or Scott or anybody else happy. It's what's best for the citizens.
What?
So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question that you've already kind of been asked, but as far as the middle school project and the parks in that Article 97 and the deeds, this will not impede on any of the park space, right? What is there is going to get used, nothing more, right? It's not going to impede into Ingleside Park?
We have to look at all the plans and all the options and to see what it's going to take. I mean, what we're proposing is 2 sheets of ice in a field house, right? So anything, we're looking at the plot plans. We want to make sure everybody's happy that that is intended for recreational space and it will be used for recreational space. As far as where everything will line, it's not going to be anything that people are going to look and say, oh my God, this is crazy. No, we want to be cognizant. We understand the needs of the town, and we understand what they want, and we understand how important green space is. So we want to be able to use the space to the best of its ability. So, I don't know what more I could say about that. This is something that, in the RFP, we will spell out what we're looking for and what we're expecting from a partner. This is not an investment. Well, everything we do is an investment for the town's future, but this is it's not a debt exclusion. We're not asking the taxpayers for any money. We're asking for the developer, for a partner to come in and help us to do something we're unable to do for ourselves. But so it's really thinking out of the box and trying to provide a revenue stream.
You just said it. Those are the key words to the people out there that are like, why doesn't the fire station go up there? Or this isn't costing any money.
No,
and
now
so there's people
for full transparency, the cost to Winthrop is whatever portion we will be paying for the demolition of the
right. Okay, so it's not
right, but it's nothing that's going to require any sort of debt exclusion, any sort of impact to the taxpayers.
Right.
No, absolutely
so it's not going to cost the town that much money, not like $15 million for the center project.
It's
just for the demolition.
If we had absolutely zero money from any state agency or representatives or partners around Massport, MWRA, if we had no help from them, it would cost us potentially $1.5 million to tear down the buildings.
Right.
But that's nothing that would whatever
we're going to get that back in revenue.
Yes, and again, I don't think we would be paying for that whole $1.5 million. But this is going to be and I could almost argue that the infrastructure that we're going to get done in return for it would more than and not only does the infrastructure that we would get done by a partner on this help the town, it also helps something that Mr. Sacco likes to talk about a lot, and deservedly so, with the water rates, right? Because if we were to do an infrastructure project there, it wouldn't increase the taxes, but it would damn sure increase water rates again, and we don't want to do that. We've got, we could drive around Winthrop and talk all day about the construction projects we have going on and that are about to go on, and the ones that are almost done, but they seem never ending. It's all about the betterment of the town. But, and some of the projects we're doing aren't costing us that much money in terms of tax base or water rates. But, the water, we could talk another hour on water and sewer. But to have, a partner come in and do some of the work that we would have to do would be fantastic.
Yeah. So back to the fire station. So somebody, as this question has been sitting up, while I love the website, two things stand out. Why not just keep the link on the town's website? Well, let me answer on that. That's a dumpster fire. The town website is a dumpster fire. But with that said,
we can answer that question. Don't put it there. It's a dumpster fire.
Well, the questions asked on 9/7 haven't been answered. Who's in charge of that? I don't know what that refers to.
Right.
Do we know what that refers to? There was a lot of questions asked on 9/7, I believe.
September 7th, I believe it's probably questions that were asked.
That might have been when we're talking about the businesses, I think. Was that was shortly after we announced it, and it might have been about the businesses. And again, we talked about it early in the program, but we feel very comfortable that the businesses are going to be, especially the major business that was discussed so often with Patsy and Sandro. I think you're going to see a very positive announcement for them. I think they're going to be I know they're very happy about it. We're doing everything we can to make sure everyone's taken care of. And again, we have some sort of legal obligation in terms of, relocating these businesses, but we feel a strong moral obligation. Again, we said at the beginning, we're a small town. We rely on all our businesses, whether they be big or small. They're important to us and important to the town. Patsy might not be a resident of Winthrop, but he's basically an honorary citizen. He's been here so long, and he's an incredibly nice guy. And I, say Patsy singularly, but Sandro as well. I go back a long way with Patsy and respect him immensely, and would never want to do anything to hurt him. And I think that, the citizens are going to be very pleased to see what comes out of that. And as well as the other businesses too. We want to do all we can to take care of these people. And the town manager, and I have to give him a lot of credit, is also helping us tremendously in reaching out to these people and setting up meetings with them and trying to find right locations. So I think that's what that question on 9/7 is about.
Okay.
And again, it goes back to the four major things that we need to prove to people before this is passed. And one is there a need, which I think that's pretty 100%. There is a need. Another is the cost, which we have to be cognizant of. And again, the website, winthropfirestation.com, will give you the ability to find that cost and the impact. The middle school, I think we've gone over in depth here, and the businesses, which, I think are going to be extremely satisfied. So
that answers this question on the screen. Is there already locations for the businesses to relocate? I think that's a yes.
Well, I can't say that there are right now locations, but I think the major one, you will hear an announcement in a short period of time that the meat market is going to be very happy with. I think we're also looking, and I know that we've just started talks. I know the town managers reached out to the church, because that's another one that's been there, not for a tremendous amount of time, but they serve an incredible purpose here. And They've been working out of the middle school gym, the old middle school gym, and now they're up there. And we want to make sure they have a facility that's going to go in. Geo's, my son's gone there for 15 years to get his hair cut, and we want to make sure that Geo's is taken care of. Anybody that wants to be taken care of, we're going to be able to find them space, and we're going to help them, and we're going to pay for them to move.
What about this? I strongly suggest you add some rooms for musicians to be able to set up their bands. Trust me. Maybe in the field house. Who knows? Right?
No, but it's funny because they say that, and we talk about the arts and stuff, and we talk, some questions that we haven't got into at all here, and it's a totally different subject. But we don't want the let's assume this passes, and we're building a new fire station, which is incredibly great for the town. Now we have two buildings that are vacant, right? We have the Shirley Street Fire Station, we have the Pauline Street Fire Station. We certainly do not, absolutely 100% do not want to get into the same situation as we did at the middle school, right? I think the Shirley Street location is much easier. I think it's prime for redevelopment. I think the Pauline Street station has that history, has that historical significance. I think if anything was redeveloped there, we would make sure that it kept the same facade and such. But there's been talk, and I've brought it up about like a playhouse type area that, can we gut it out and make it like a Winthrop Playmakers Association or a Winthrop Playhouse, or have like small bands and musicians and something like that. So to have a public space.
Yeah, rehearsal space or whatever. Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there as a opportunity or a potential. There are a lot of things we'd love to do in the town. And I've seen people on here make comments about we're not Lexington. We're not anybody. We're Winthrop. And, I'm looking at Lexington and look at that station and saying, wow, that costs like 15 million less than what we want to build, just to show that we can build a building with historical significance that fits in with this town and makes it seamless, that it fits in with the neighborhood, and also doing it at a cost that's hopefully going to be fit the appetite of the taxpayers. But to make the point that if we put this off, we know at some point we have to build a fire station, and the cost is going up expeditiously. And right now it's going up on average 8 to 10% a year.
So this viewer says, hope it doesn't pass the rec facility. Well, that's not a vote. That's basically, it's a committee vote, right? Is it the council vote?
A vote is we need. Well, we always want the support of the citizens, right? But we need, legally, we need a vote of the town if we're doing anything to increase their taxes, whether it be, and then there's just that, sometimes we take these as no-brainers, but not necessarily, just to make sure people understand there's a Proposition 2.5 override and there's a debt exclusion override. A Proposition 2.5 override is an increase in taxes in perpetuity, right? It goes on forever. That's not what this is. This is a debt exclusion. This is kind of like buying a house and getting a mortgage. Once it's paid off, it comes off the tax rolls. Last year, we had the Fort Bank School came off the tax rolls. Now it's minuscule. It wasn't, it was a relatively inexpensive project back then. And I think the impact of the average taxpayer was in the $40 to $50 range a year. Next year, the Willis School, the ATC school will be coming off the tax rolls, which is roughly $64 a year. And then a few years after that, the Miller Field project will be coming off the tax rolls, which is roughly $140 a year. So it's not that, I don't mean to say people are getting a rebate check for $140, but their taxes, I'm not even going to say taxes go down, because they're going to go up 2.5% a year anyway, but they'll go up 2.5% minus $140 roughly, just to give people an idea of that.
So this viewer, again, hope your rec center doesn't happen. Many of us as taxpayers have no use. This is no children attending schools, but are still playing with.
It's not an impact. This is not a financial impact. It's only a plus. It's
revenue. It's a stream.
It's a revenue stream, and I can make the rationale that it increases property values. It's bringing people to Winthrop for a short period of time, for a day or two, that have never seen Winthrop, bringing them from all over the country potentially to play in a hockey tournament, or to, they'll go down to CVS. They'll, get nails done. They'll have restaurants. They'll do whatever. And I think that's a plus. I'm incredibly proud of this town. And, we've had a lot of fame, bring up names, but you talk about Mike Rizioni, and we sometimes take that name for granted. That name is is enamored around the country, and people come in and they know it's the home of Mike Erizzione, right? And I'm incredibly proud of that. And Mike's done so much for this town. But you have the ability to put your town even on the map a little bit more. And I think that's always a good thing. But this is not at cost. This is not a recreation center where it's just Winthrop building a facility for X number of millions of dollars and having kids use it. No, it's an opportunity for somebody else to build this facility that we have the opportunity to use, not to have 24 hours a day, not to have whenever we want, but to use at, an incredible amount of time.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think this was a very informative show, Jim. I think we're going with the takeaway is the fire department needs a new fire station. It's going to happen sooner or later. It's inevitable. The clock is ticking. It's going to either cost us what it costs us now or cost us a lot more later on down the road. It's going to happen no matter what. You have to give these people, you have to give these men and women the break they need to do their job. That's my take on it. I mean, that's reprehensible that it's 2023 and these guys and ladies have one shower. One. This is
I'm
like,
not even sure.
Listen, I've been to fire stations in the Philippines that have 2 or 3 showers. And that's a third world country, people. So think about that. I've seen it. Trust me. I'm not making that up. And the middle school project is kind of a win-win. Like you said, Jim, infrastructure gets taken care of by somebody else. It's not put on the taxpayers. We pay a nominal fee to have it knocked down, right? But the rest is a plus. It's revenue that the town absolutely 100% needs. But like Todd said, we've heard these stories before. Oh, the revenue is going to help. The revenue is going to help. But I think this is the real deal.
I think it is. And I just want to say, we talk about the fire station project for 45 minutes, I think, and it's deserving of even more time. But
yes.
You never, ever, I'm never going to present a project that everybody is 100% on board for. Nobody ever is. There are projects that have passed. I mean, I could go back to Fort Banks and say, geez, did I really think it was a great idea to put a school down at Fort Banks with, there's conditions, there's location and such. But you know what? I supported it because I knew the town needed the school and I thought it was a good thing. And it's worked out well. Has it had issues? It's had some issues with traffic and such, but it's served our students well. I look at the middle high school and say, originally we were going for a high school. Do I really love having a middle high school together? Do I think that's the perfect scenario? No, I don't think it's the perfect scenario. You have 12-year-old kids and 18-year-old kids, but I knew the need was there. I knew we had an incredible opportunity.
It works.
And I supported that, and it works. And we've done everything we can, and we separate those children, and we give them the correct space. But was it the perfect project? No, it wasn't. Do I agree with everything that was done in it? No, but it's the better of the community. Same thing with this fire station. There's never, ever going to be a project that everyone agrees on. No. But this is an incredibly well thought out, transparent project that I think there's no question that there is an incredible need for this project right now. So again, I just encourage people to ask questions, be informed, just vote with knowledge and.
And Jim, I got to give you a lot of credit. Couple years ago, 100%. You talked to us, about when you were running for town council president. You brought your ideas to us. Not saying we were the reason you won, but we both, Todd and I, agreed. Off the air, we say we're a big reason, but that's between us. But you brought those issues to the table. You said you were going to do it, and you're doing it. You've made more progress in the 2 years that you've been the town council president with not 100% support from your town council. This we know. But you're getting these things. You're getting one on the ballot, and you're real close to getting one done. That middle school, which everybody seemed to love to complain about, and everybody had their ideas. But like you said, Jim, you're not going to please everybody. But I think that's a huge revenue stream for the town. I think that really will work. And the businesses, don't underestimate the effect it's going to have on the local restaurants and businesses, because Todd and I had said this a couple of years ago when this all started, that tournaments bring in money. Tournaments bring revenue to the town in the form of businesses just making, like, just think if there's a tournament, Nick's is going to just blow up, right?
It helps that's just everybody. It helps the gas stations.
It helps the gas stations.
The car washes. Yeah. It helps the hairdressers. It helps the businesses, the Knicks, the meat market, the pies, whatever it happens to be. It helps everyone.
Yep.
And that's a good thing. And it just brings notoriety to the town, a positive notoriety that we all want. And it, it's an incredibly unique and special town, and everybody wants to call themselves unique. We truly are. We're 1.6 square miles, 19,000 people. It's kind of like family, and sometimes, like families, we love to fight and bitch and knock each other down. But also, Winthrop has always been famous for picking each other up. And right now, we're hoping it's the fire department that we're picking up.
So, Jim, just don't forget this one though. Coming up on the screen right now. I'm telling you, there needs to be a best meatball in Winthrop competition. It's going to be a huge event. You guys, it's going to be a big deal. I'm telling you, that's going to bring in revenue to those Italian restaurants. The 7 or 12 that are there already.
Before we get too far off this, project, I do want to say, Jim, that I think you know how I felt about this. I like the idea. I've always been a big proponent of people come to Winthrop, spend your money, sayonara, get out. Not that we don't want you here, but there's only so much we can handle, and building multi-units in neighborhoods is not the way we're going to solve any revenue problems. So thank you for bringing this proposal forward. I also want to say to the people, do the homework. Go to the place in Wellesley. My son and his friends played lacrosse there. It's a fabulous facility. It gets a ton of use. It's a win-win. I think people should know that there's, correct me if I'm wrong here, Jim, but there's going to be committees put together to help with input with how the community wants the field house to look, what kind of courts, things we want. Like none of that's been set in stone, and there's still time for input. Is that fair?
No, I think it's fair. I think we're going to talk about an RFP and stuff we're looking for, but I think, I've talked to several people about this, but we obviously want community input. We want community input in everything we do. It's how we thrive. It's what we do. Because, we could sit together in a room, we could sit with 9 counselors and talk about everything. And, I've talked about this with some people, and I said, I think I got it all lined up, but this is exactly what we want. And then somebody said, oh, what about this? So it's always good to talk to more people, because you just get ideas you just don't think about. But anyway, guys, I thank you for the opportunity to come on.
Buddy.
And I'm available whenever.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, Jim, thank you. Everybody thanks you. Keep up the good work, and I'll see you when I'm done standing on the bridge.
And I'll stop in next time I'm up there, buddy.
Well, please do. Thank you guys again.
All right, Jim.
Take care.
Thanks for your time.
All right, see you later, bud.
That was very informative.
A lot of information. Yeah, a lot of information. I hope people got value out of that. Still a lot of questions out there. I don't know what can that be done for this.
They said, what about it's a fundraiser for fireworks.
Fundraising.
To defray cost. Fundraising is hard. It's now the fireworks is it's a whole separate entity in Winthrop. That is a special day that's almost a tradition at this point, right? The fundraiser for the fireworks, because it serves everybody. I'd say 90% of the town is for that. There's 10% that say, I don't like the fireworks, and that's fine. That's, for whatever reason they don't, and that's okay. But when you're doing fundraising, you can't, you got to kind of pick and choose what you want to fundraise for.
Especially here, man, it's constant fundraising. Yeah. It's constant. It's fundraising for everything: sports, school supplies, elections. It's constant.
Somebody made an observation about you, Todd, saying you had to.
Oh yeah.
You were chomping it.
Probably reacting to my leg shaking or whatever.
Well, when your leg shakes, your whole desk shakes, your
talk.
camera shakes, like me right now.
Everything's shaking. I'm a nervous wreck. I am who I am. I'm nervous.
Oh, well, you'll be fine, buddy. Everything's going to work out. You're going to be out at the bridge tomorrow morning, just like every morning.
I am.
And you have a new event that you just put out there, coffee?
Yes, I'm glad you reminded me. So what is it, September 23rd? Yeah, September 23rd. We'll be having coffee at Adriana's. It's going to be free. All the coffee is on the house just because people had more questions. There were a few people that were on Winthrop vote saying, when's he going to have another one? So I hope to get as many people there as possible. I want to be accessible. I want people to judge for themselves. Like I said earlier today, if history is any indicator, there's going to be a lot of naysaying going on out there. And I think, again, people should sit down and take the time to talk to me. Because I think they'll find them completely different than what they say.
And your opponent, who was handpicked by Tracy Honan, I heard. So when you're voting for this guy, you're voting for her. That's all I'm going to say about that. Well, there's more to say down the road.
Right.
But handpicked by her because she was a coward and didn't want to run again. So she wants to sit back and be a string puller. So this guy's going to be a puppet. That's my take on it. But that's just what my people in Winthrop tell me what's going on. So I don't think you got anything to worry about, buddy. I don't think you have anything to worry about.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to do just fine. And with that said,
good night. Yeah. So you know what? This is pretty funny, right? I always say what
politics starts at the local level.
Give me one second.
There you go. He used his cough button. Good man.
Maybe one more time.
Good man. He's learning the technology.
And this is one of the best examples of it by having, first of all, first time, a candidate and the current sitting president, I think, we're in a conversation together. And I think it's important that people got the chance to directly ask questions and talk, hear from the town council president. So I'm glad. I hope people get involved. Please be involved. Please pay attention to this election. Because politics it all starts at the local level. It is the local level. It's everything. And I thank you all for watching. I thank you all for your support. If you are interested in the sign location, by the way, please send me a private message looking for more sign locations.
And to the viewer who just said, will you be willing to host us three candidates for Precinct 2 on the show? Absolutely. All three at the same time? Absolutely. We have the technology. We are like the $6 million man of live streaming. Who
asked that question?
No, that's fine.
Who is that?
That would be, and as we go, as it goes. Now remember, it's Kurt. So Todd, when he's on this show in that seat right there, he's hosting the show. If we bring those three on, Todd's going to treat them just like he would if he wasn't running for town council. So we would love to have that. It's basically give them their time. And if all three are willing, then sure, let's bring them on. If 2 out of 3 are willing, Kurt Millar, Mark Chapelain, and John Munson.
Kurt Millar and John Munson, all running for Precinct 2.
We're more than glad to have them on. It's always, people know when they come on the show, it's straight across the board. Nobody gets kamikazed and, no surprises. We'll have a list of questions or we'll just let them debate it out. We'll figure out the format. But I think that would be a great idea. Great idea.
Bring it on. Everybody respond.
Yeah, well, see if however they want to get together, they can contact us, or they can talk to each other and see if they agree to do it and then let us know and we'll pick a time and a date. And with that said, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you like it, share it. If you didn't like it, well, thanks for watching for an hour and 18 minutes. We're here every Tuesday night, mostly. We do this for Winthrop. Winthrop is the engine that runs this machine, and without them, it would just be me and Todd Again, he doesn't really talk to me much during the week anymore. He's very busy, man. I'm getting a little jealous with this campaigning. Now. I'm getting a little bit jealous, my friend. I'm only talking to you. I feel like a scorned wife. I only get your attention once a week, and then that's that. I don't know if I like this anymore.
Yeah, it's what it takes.
It might just be this, me behind the scenes.
Oh, you hung up on everybody.
I'm here. I'm just.
You're back.
I just did that because that's what it might look like in the future. I might ghost you, but I'll run the show behind the scenes. Just give you the screen. I'll share you. All right, buddy. Listen, get ready for tomorrow morning. Be out there with your coffee and your signs, and it's working. The ball's rolling.
Yep.
All right. We'll see everybody next Tuesday.
Good night, all.